procurement policy is a mandatory procurement connected policy under the legislative instrument of the Commonwealth Procurement Rules. The purpose of the Indigenous Procurement Policy is to leverage government annual multi-billion procurement spend to drive demand for Indigenous goods and services. So in effect to stimulate Indigenous economic development and grow the Indigenous business sector. The Indigenous Procurement Policy was launched on the 1st of July 2015 and has three main parts: a target number of contracts that need to be awarded to Indigenous businesses. That's one part. It has a mandatory set aside for remote contracts and contracts valued between 80,000 and 200,000, and a minimum Indigenous participation requirements in contracts valued at or above 7.5 million in certain industries. The recent changes to the Indigenous Procurement Policy from July 1, 2019, basically to ensure Indigenous businesses win higher value contracts at a level closer to those of non-Indigenous businesses. A target based on the value of the contracts awarded will be introduced. That's on the 1st of July 2019. The target will be set at 1% in 2019 to 2020 and will be increased by 0.25% each year until it reaches 3% in 2027. In saying that, from 1st of July 2020, Indigenous participation targets will be mandatory in high value contracts across more specified industries. We're still waiting for further details on what industries that will involve, but these changes it will take effect on the 1st of July 2019. Indigenous National Technology and Telecom Network is an Indigenous-owned business that seeks to work with government and industry. It is a business model that looks to enrich assets that are already existing. It doesn't necessarily seek to compete with industry, in telecommunications or IT necessarily. Its business model is to really enrich those existing assets in Australia. We specialise in Indigenous business. We specialise in understanding Indigenous economic development and social development, and of course the human rights element to that story, which is sustainable development goals under the United Nations 2030 agenda. This is a key driver for Indigenous National Technology and Telecom Network. The model is there for government to work with iNTTN and also industry to work with iNTTN. So the relationships can be enriched, work together on good sound principles like reconciliation, like the spirit of the Indigenous Procurement Policy. iNTTN really seeks to work with government and business that already exist. Indigenous National Technology and Telecom Network is a national company that supplies goods and services in telecommunication and IT services and products across Australia. The magic in that business model is that while it is a national supply company, it seeks to work with local traditional owners. iNTTN as a business model, it has an understanding of the challenges in local communities, and they're very complex, wide-ranging. But in saying that, all of, if not most, the local traditional owners in Australia in different communities have very clear aspirations and certainly very clear ambitions. And in the first instance, that really is, basically and simply inclusion in industry. And look, we specialise and focus on telecommunications and the IT industry. we simply want to build our business model to play a role in that. So, you know, it's a business model where everyone can benefit, everyone can work together, and benefit for local communities. That's the aim, but from a social point of view, economic point of view, and of course environmental and cultural point of view. So yeah, this is our business model, and we're very proud of that fact. Stakeholder value really sits at the heart of iNTTN, from end to end. Government and industry can work with iNTTN in a number of ways. iNTTN is very clear about the type of partner it looks to develop any type of partnership with or establish. Of course, they need to have a commitment to reconciliation action planning, either developing a reconciliation action plan or have an established reconciliation action plan. They need to have a commitment to cultural awareness and cultural competency. We think this is an important factor in terms of developing our partnerships. And of course, a clear commitment to Indigenous procurement policy. That of course is a key factor. The ways government and industry can get in touch with iNTTN is they can email us at iNTTN through our central email, which is support@inttn.com.au, or they can call us on our national call centre number, which is 1300 76 1158. And of course, we are registered, iNTTN is registered with Supply Nation, and subsequently different Aboriginal chambers of commerce across Australia also, which are of course a very important element to economic development for Indigenous communities across Australia. And also importantly, we're also registered with different Australian government and state and territory tender portals. For example, AusTender, Tenderlink, these types of tender portals. So yeah, you'll see iNTTN in those portals. We respond to any tenders that we see published.